Auntie Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So, for this spotlight, we are taking a look at some novels in verse. And here's why I think novels in verse are such a great way to kick off our new year, okay? What I love about novels in verse is they are written in poetry format. Don't be afraid, okay? If you're not a poetry person, I am not a poetry person. Still love novels in verse, okay? What I love about them is they're written in poetry format, but they are usually quick reads that pack a punch. A lot of times our novels in verse deal with some tough topics, maybe events in history that we've never even really talked about, heard about, okay? So it's a great experience across the board. We have 6 titles to share with you because you need a place to start. So let's get started. Our first one is Beyond Me. So Maya is 11 years old. She's living in Japan in March 2011. On March 11th, 2011, an earthquake occurred off the coast of Japan, leading to a huge tsunami and then an explosion and damage at a nuclear power plant, okay? This novel in verse tells you about this true event. This actually really did happen, okay? If you Google it, this is a real thing, okay? It tells you about this true event through Maya's eyes. You will go through the before, the during, and the aftermath of this horrific and life-changing event. Even though she feels hopeless, it's going to be up to Maya and the other survivors to help everyone they possibly can in order to survive and recover. Highly encourage this amazing work of historical fiction, okay? It is, it's been, 12 years, okay? Almost 13 years at this point. Is considered, quote, historical. You will go through every emotion possible and be left breathless at the end. Oh, well, maybe if you're like me, you can't help but wonder, what would you do if you were faced with something like this? Would you do what Maya does in our story? This is Beyond Me. Before the Ever After by Jacqueline Woodson. Love Jacqueline Woodson. So good. This one is so good. Okay. 12-year-old ZJ has the best family, especially his dad, who is a pro football player, and many consider him to be one of the greatest. But slowly things start to change as his dad starts to behave differently. He's having some lapses in his memory in which he's forgetting things. He has crazy mood swings that involve screaming at others and is having horrible headaches. Going to one doctor after the other and no one having answers for them, ZJ starts to worry about his father and what is going to happen to him while leaning on his friends and family for support. This is set in the early 2000s, where research into concussions and traumatic brain injuries and long-term effects have really not taken place, especially to the extent that they are discussed and talked and researched today. But this amazing novel in verse is for sports and realistic fans alike. And you have you going through so many emotions. It's an amazing read, and it is a heart-wrenching read, to be completely honest. You have this person who's going through stuff with his family, with ZJ, and it kind of puts you in his shoes and makes you see through his eyes. This is Before the Ever After. The Door of No Return. Oh, this is another one. I will tell you this right now, okay? This is part of a planned trilogy. This is the first book. There is a pretty wicked cliffhanger at the end of this one, okay? So you have been forewarned right at the beginning of this talk. This novel in verse takes us back to the 1860s, to a small village in West Africa and what is now known as Ghana, okay? It's there we meet Kofi, who is your typical 11-year-old who loves to play with his friends, go swimming, and loves to learn and spend time with his grandfather. He is told, though, to never go swimming in the river at night, okay? That is off limits. When the sun starts to come down, they are expected to go back home from the river. One evening, though, he decides he's going to go swimming in the river when he's not supposed to, with his older brother, Kwasi. Kwasi is preparing for to compete in an upcoming festival that's known as the King's Festival. It is when his brother is challenged to a wrestling match, though, that fateful night at the rivers changes everything, okay? And from, Kofi and his family, and it's when Kwasi accidentally kills a competitor to strike revenge, Kofi and Kwasi find themselves kidnapped by the family and being sent away from all they've ever known into the unknown. This historical eye-opener is one that's wonderfully written. It will present a whole different perspective on a piece of time in history in a global perspective that not only changed the world, but dramatically changed our country, especially as they are sold into slavery. Again, there's a wicked cliffhanger. You have been forewarned. The door of no return. I am Kavi. So 10-year-old Kavi has already had a pretty tumultuous life when our story starts. Growing up in the 1990s in Sri Lanka, it's in the midst of a civil war. She really never knew her father, okay? Her father was off fighting in the civil war. When he did return home when she was 10, he had lost his leg and was dealing with the emotions from that. And then he passed away suddenly from a heart attack, okay? Yeah. Needing to take care of her family, Kavi's mother, there was only one option available to her, and she quickly remarried and is now pregnant, leaving Kavi feeling as though her mother no longer loves or even cares about her. It is when Kavi wins a scholarship to a prestigious school in the capital city that she thinks everything's going to change for her. This is what she needed, okay? This is going to change the rest of her life. Kavi quickly, though, learns that the new city and her school are completely different from anything else she has ever experienced, and she soon finds herself wrapped up in a web of lies as she tries to reinvent herself into a different person in order to fit in. This historical novel in verse, again, is another one about a time, about a place that is ever really talked about, ever really written about, that we never even think about. And it's about, along with that, though, it's even a greater story of family and friendship and trying to find your place in your world. And it's something we can all relate to, no matter what the year, no matter what country. This is I Am Kavi. The Hope of Elephants. So Cass has grown up her whole life with her father battling some form of cancer, but that has not stopped them from living life as much as they can and to the fullest, complete with being able to go to the World Series Game 2 every single year, okay? That's their tradition. At 12 years old, though, Cass's father's cancer has come back, and on top of that, there's even more shattering news when it's revealed that through genetic testing, her dad has a genetic mutation called Li-Fraumeni syndrome, which makes him more susceptible to cancer, and there's a 50% chance that Cass may have this as well. Faced with the decision of whether or not she should get the genetic test to see if she does, all Cass really wants to do is try to keep her family as normal as possible for as long as she can, even though it feels as though everything is really falling apart and she doesn't want to have to grapple with this possibly life-altering decision she needs to make. If you are looking for a deeper read, okay, and I will tell you, there's some existential questions in this one that even as an adult, you struggle with some of the questions that Cass at 12 is dealing with. This one is that deeper read. It ponders life and death, and would you really want to know if you had a greater chance of having cancer or any other type of illness? And it's a lot to absorb, especially at any age. But again, if you're looking for an impactful and deep read, The Hope of Elephants. And our last one is No Matter the Distance. So 6th grader Penny knows she has cystic fibrosis, or CF, as we'll probably continue to call it throughout our little talk here, but she knows that does not define her. But sometimes it doesn't feel that way. It's when her best friend Cricket tells her that she's moving from North Carolina, where they are all living right now, to Virginia, that Penny has her worst CF flare-up in years. And Penny cannot help but think they are connected. I mean, like, if Cricket leaves, is this what she's going to be dealing with forever, okay? One day, though, she goes out to the creek in her backyard, and she finds an injured dolphin who is, like, a ways away from its saltwater habitat. It's in this creek in her backyard. But she falls in love with this dolphin. It almost becomes like her new best friend. She names the dolphin Rose, and Penny realizes that they are able to communicate through images telepathically. When a marine biologist tell her though, because Rose is sending her some things that maybe she's not feeling the best, some images. She gets the marine biologist. They tell her, they come look at her, that Rose is sick, that she has a lung infection. And the only way for her to get better is going to be that she needs to be reunited with her pod. But for that to happen, Penny knows that she's going to have to say goodbye to her new best friend. Now, Penny starts to come to terms with having to say goodbye to not only Rose, but also the cricket, and finds herself on a journey of self-discovery. Now, if you enjoy an animal story, okay, and I know those aren't for everyone, okay, but if you do, this one has a unique perspective and a storyline, and it's a little bit more of, you know, a little bit more of a deeper plot line, okay? So, an incredible read. This is No Matter the Distance. So these are just 6 of the novels in verse that we have here at the library. We encourage you to come on out, check these out, or plenty of others. So we are here to help you find maybe that perfect novel in verse to get you started on your new reading year. I hope you have an amazing week, and I hope you tune back next time for a whole new middle grade book spotlight.